here to look at the surf because, like I said, we're kind of taking shelter behind a condo here. So, bear with us. It gets gusty. Okay, so let's take a look at the conditions out here right now. The surf is extremely strong. It's nothing to joke about. It's nothing to play about. People are coming down here and taking pictures, taking Facebook's lives, like Bob said earlier. Do not do that. Rely on us. We're the ones that are doing it for you. But look at that. That is absolutely strong, so fierce, so angry. It is still churning its way over here. So stay off the beaches no matter where you are. It is dangerous. It's not a good condition to be. We will check in with you guys a little bit later. Reporting live in Destin, Hannah McKenzie, Channel 3 News.
Yeah, not a fun. Governor Scott tweeting, was this a tweet? Tweeted just a few minutes ago, and this is a quote. We have trucks loaded with tons of food, water, and other critical supplies ready to move in, including 1.5 million meals ready to eat, MREs, and 1 million gallons of water. That coupled with about 4,000 power crews and line workers ready to go from Pensacola Interstate Fairgrounds to move to every part of the state that needs its power restored. And there will be tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people who will need that after Michael finally winds through. Moving at a pretty good clip at 14 miles an hour to the north-northeast. And as Alan was showing us just a little while ago, by tonight it's going to be in Georgia. And we'll be on the back end of this thing and get a much better idea then at assessing the damage. What's this? All right, this is from President Trump. Was this a tweet also, or was this a soundbite that we have?
This is, I believe we have actual sound from the president.
Okay, yeah, President Trump describing a trip that he's soon to take in Florida. Ori, just go ahead and roll it. Let's see what he has to say.
We want to get down there as soon as possible. At the same time, I don't want to go down where we're interfering with the people, first responders, the FEMA people. I want them to focus on the storm, not me. So we'll probably look to Sunday or Monday to go down and meet with the governors, meet with everybody, and do what we have to do, like we did in North Carolina, South Carolina, where that worked out really well.
All right, and we're going back to Stephen Quinn. He is still there in Tallahassee monitoring the situation for us.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just want to give you just a look at the conditions right there where we are here in Tallahassee right now. We're starting to get a lot of wind in this area, starting to pick up. And the concern now is not only just wind, but the trees that could be brought down with it. There are widespread power outages that are expected. Keep in mind that we're about 80 miles from where Hurricane Michael made landfall in a straight line. It's about a 2-hour drive, yet still the impact expected to be significant here. There are going to be and are power crews that have been staging here in the city where you literally cannot find a hotel tonight. That's how many have been here. And the concern, of course, as I mentioned, the wind, as you see here, if you're looking at our feed, you'll see strong enough to do damage. Not a place you want to have a tent right now, certainly. And we are expecting to get hurricane-force winds, is what local officials told us in a press conference earlier today, in this area later on as that storm continues to make its way north and east towards where we are. It is quiet here right now. Florida State University and Florida A&M are both closed. Many of those students, as I understand it, staying in their dorms, and ones that have lived off campus are being allowed to seek shelter in local auditoriums. Meanwhile, high schools here in Leon County are also serving as shelters. As you see debris there kind of being blown around. We understand from county officials that there are about 1,500 people seeking shelter, not just from in Leon County, but also in points southward. Keep in mind, while this storm did make landfall a ways away, there is still significant storm surge expected to the south of us along the coast here. That's in areas like Wakulla County, and there they expect a storm surge of 9 to 13 feet. Mandatory evacuations have been in place for towns like St. Mark's. And from what we saw yesterday when we were in that area, most of the people did appear to heed those warnings. Obviously, there's always a concern that there could be some people who hadn't. However, we have seen some police out here as well as sheriff's deputies, although I'm told from county officials once those conditions start to deteriorate, which is what we expect in the next hour or two, they're going to go off the roads. They're going to be inside so that they can stay safe. And so that's something to keep in mind. And you can just see a lot of leaves right now for the most part in the roadways, but it's the trees that they're worried about. If you're familiar with Tallahassee, those live oaks, for example, beautiful. and they hang over the roads, as you see right here, for example, but they also hang over the power lines. And when those come down, it's going to put a lot of Tallahassee in the dark, or at least that is the fear, as we get another strong gust right there as we stand on we drive along one of these hills here of Tallahassee. Another point that I can tell you, obviously, airports are closed here. Most people do appear to be inside, so that is certainly a good sign, and we'll be continuing to monitor the situation here in Tallahassee over the course of the next few hours as we expect it to deteriorate.
Stephen, that was one of the things I was going to mention. You seem to pretty much have the road to yourself. I counted correctly. I think I saw perhaps two other cars. Right. Are most people just hunkered down, or do you sense that many of them evacuated the area altogether?
I don't believe, in talking to police here, I don't believe there were necessarily mass evacuations, for example, like we may have seen on the beach. And I'll tell you the reason that I say that in talking to them. The one thing that we have seen right now, there isn't a gas shortage per se. What the problem has been here is that a lot of these gas stations, to keep their employees obviously safe, have been closed, and so they're not being refilled or reset. And for that reason, some of them are not working. However, for the most part, a lot of people do appear to have stayed in town. Now, I can't speak to the extent in terms of, for instance, the students at Florida State and Florida A&M, those colleges here in town, how many of those may have left for a long weekend given the closures. But from what police had told us, there did not appear to be mass evacuations here in the city. But again, and I emphasize, one of the big areas are those points to the south in Wakulla County, for example, and the town of St. Mark's is one where we visited, where they are expecting storm surge. There were evacuations inland for those people. Now, that is obviously a significantly less populated area than where we are here in the state capital. And it appears here most people are just hunkering in, as you mentioned.
Stephen, thank you. Stephen, brought up he is 80 miles away from the center of the storm right now. As we heard Alan say, the hurricane-force winds extend out from the center of that storm for 45 miles, I think is what he last said with the 1 p.m. update. The tropical storm-force winds extend from the center about 175 miles. What we're looking at on the left side of your screen is the radar indicating the precipitation that's coming down right now. Some other images that you see that this thing is big. And when you're looking at something as, for instance, infrared, which is showing you how high the clouds are, or you're looking at visible satellite, which shows you the entire cloud field of the storm. The real powerful part and damaging part of the storm is that core right now where those winds are. There's not really a good you can see how quickly they're moving, but there's not an individual thing that shows you how far those winds extend. 45 miles from the center, so Tallahassee is kind of right in that transition period between the tropical storm force winds and the hurricane force winds. And thankfully, as Stephen was driving through Tallahassee, we did not see a whole lot of downed trees. I'm not sure where we're seeing this. The water coming up a stairwell right now. But we have Caitlin Wright standing by, who could perhaps answer some of these questions about where this thing is right now. But it appears that the entire eye wall, the entire circle of the core, has come on shore, and it's moving at a pretty good clip at 14 miles an hour.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So it is moving rather quickly, Bob and Sue, and that is one blessing with this hurricane. Of course, those maximum sustained winds, the last update from the National Hurricane Center, still at that Category 4 strength, but this is moving pretty fast. Areas that were just getting really pounded by the eye wall, some of them still are just nearing Panama City, but some areas like Mexico Beach, some of those people that were probably hunkered down if they did stay surrounding the Panama City beach and Mexico Beach area, they're probably about to go outside just to see what has happened to their outside areas. I mean, this has been a powerful, still is a very powerful hurricane. So all areas just to the northeast and to the north of still what is the center of this storm still need to brace for those impacts. Now across northwest Florida, the very extreme northwest Florida, I should say, Escambia County and areas in southwest Alabama as well, Santa Rosa County. For the most part, people are asking us those impacts. We still have this stiff northerly wind, which has actually allowed our surf to calm down a little bit, almost the most calm that we've seen it all day, but still very dangerous conditions out there. You're looking at a couple of live views there, just kind of coupling what we're seeing across the Florida Panhandle. And again, that eye wall is just going to be pretty dangerous to still be on. So I'll go ahead and zoom into a couple of different areas here as we track Hurricane Michael on 3D Doppler, going more toward Tallahassee. Some of these outer rain bands, some of these most eastern outer feeder bands, still going to be setting up across your area. You'll get kind of these waves in increments of these really heavy and moderate downpours And then you'll get some pretty light bands set up through your area. The heaviest of rain and the strongest winds will continue, of course, to be closest to the center of this storm. As we zoom in, we can just check out where that eye wall is. Now basically just to the north of Panama City right now, as this continues to be pretty westerly heavy in terms of the eye wall, northerly and northwesterly heavy, I'll call it, and still kind of wrapped with some thunderstorms. So don't be surprised if you're nearing that area. You're hearing rumbles of thunder and seeing some lightning embedded in this as well, along with, of course, those major Category 3 and 4 hurricane wind gusts at times as well. This, even though we have made landfall with this Category 4 Hurricane Michael, impacts most certainly still are not over. So flood alerts still remain in effect with coastal flood advisories, no longer for southwest Alabama through Mobile Bay, but we do have them in Escambia and in Santa Rosa County there. So that coastal flood advisory still in effect for Okaloosa County as well. Flash flood watch for Okaloosa County, and of course points eastward. So all across the Florida Panhandle, we'll be looking at these flash flood watches as this water continues to pile up, especially on the eastern side where the storm surge goes. So hurricanes, areas, oh wow, you see that power surge there on the side? We're going to continue to see impacts with this, but areas of low pressure are counterclockwise rotation. So that onshore wind flow is coming right toward the Big Bend in Apalachicola. I don't know the latest in terms of the storm surge height in Apalachicola, but I was looking at just about an hour ago, and they were already seeing a 6-foot storm surge right before Michael made landfall. So we still have those maximum sustained winds at 155 miles per hour. It is still moving to the north-northeast at 14 miles per hour with our Category 5 hurricane wind gust at 184 miles per hour. So tropical storm force winds are felt well away from the center. I believe it's 175 to 185 miles away from the center. And those hurricane gusts, of course, a little bit closer, a little bit more confined, about 40 to 45 miles away from the center. So this is going to track pretty quickly all the way up in Georgia by tonight and then through the Carolinas. Now, the Carolinas saw a lot of rain, of course, from Hurricane Florence, and they're going to see some more, so they have flash flood watches already posted. It's not going to add a significant amount of rain to flood and crest the rivers again, and I believe in South Carolina, the Waccamaw River is still one that is not at the average or minor flood stage yet, so they'll be watching the Waccamaw River very closely, but a lot of them in the Carolinas will expect about 2 to 5 inches of rain from Hurricane Michael, and we'll continue tracking it as it's tracking still the eye wall just north and northeast of Panama City Beach, Florida right now.